Hi, the purpose of this video is going to be to talk about the task, purpose, and end state and intent for the midday operational update, and then walk through the framework that we use for reporting from the field. After that, we'll give you a couple examples and then tie it back together with some comparison between those examples. So with the midday operational update, the intent is to provide real-time updates on operational progress, discuss any significant changes, and communicate adjustments to ensure all supporting functions are prepared for the next operational period. Your task as a division is to provide a status update, report on any evolving challenges or new opportunities, and confirm resource needs. Adjustments to the plan are communicated to allow support functions, logistics, air operations, etc., to react accordingly. So the purpose of the call allows the planning section, the planning ops, to incorporate real-time updates into the next operational period's IAP and give support functions times to adjust resources and capabilities in response to operational needs. So this is how we keep our planning horizon out there where it needs to be to allow for you all to be effective out in the field. And the end state is that all functions have up-to-date information on the next operational period, and adjustments to the plan are fully supported by logistics, resources, and coordination between the other divisions. All right, so we have a framework that we use and that we'd ask you to use, and we just call it the Midday Situation Reporting Framework. The framework is used by the divisions to provide situational updates to the planning ops. It usually occurs around 1,300 each day, and it combines the current situation reporting with forward-looking projections to allow for planning and resource allocation and to better enable the support that you need to be successful. So the first section is the current situation. And you talk about the location and the progress against the objectives. So you'll report the specific location that operations are occurring and the current status of assigned tasks. Having added drop points previously in field maps and having those on the map will make it a lot easier for you to reference where on your division the work's occurring. One example would be that Division Alpha is at drop point 50, 80% of the hand line has been completed. And you also provide a brief overview of the progress relative to the objectives set for your operational period. So based on what you're expected to accomplish today, maybe it's not just the hand line, what have you accomplished? An example would be 90% of the mop-up is completed, and the remaining 10% you estimate to be completed by 1600. So now we know, all right, they're going to be done with the mop-up in Division Alpha. The next section is issues and challenges. So operational issues, for this section, you should be identifying any significant challenges encountered that are affecting operations. And the example would be access to Division Alpha is delayed due to fallen rocks on Forest Road 222. So you have something there that's slowing you down. Maybe we can help you with it, maybe we can't. And then resource shortfalls. Clearly state any resource deficiencies and significance and specify the impact on operations. There's a big difference saying, hey, we'd like one or two more crews, and if we don't get one or two more crews, we aren't going to be able to meet the timeline that we projected for completing this line. So example would be a lack of water tenders slowing up mop-up and increasing the risk of reignition under the wind event that's planned for tomorrow. All right, the next portion is future needs. So your resource requirements will be the first part of that, and you'll list any additional resource needs for the next operational period, including quantity and types. So, you need 2 Type 3 engines. You'd like 2 Type 6 engines. You'd like 1 Type 3 dozer, that kind of thing. Example would be requesting 2 additional Type 1 crews and 1 water tender for Division Alpha. And then the next part, and this is key, the consequence of the shortfall. So you should be detailing the potential operational impact if the requested resources are not provided. So an example would be failure to receive the crews may delay containment by 2 operational periods, which would also push back the burnout operation and the need for a spike. So maybe you're going to get a spike camp once you're ready to burn out, so you had shorter turnover times between day and nights. The day you thought you were going to need that, maybe push back 2 days further. That affects logistics, and the burnout operation, the ability to conduct that is going to be affected if you don't get those crews. That's key information for the planning ops so that they can decide how to allocate scarce resources. All right, the next section is the changes to your IAP 204s. Updates on assignments, reporting changes on the 204s, or the need for updates in the next IAP. Example would be last work days of water tender, if it wasn't accurate, the crew size, and then the spelling and the names for anybody on there. If you didn't get that information reported in the morning and you've got it now, get that to planning ops, and that way it can get on the plan for the next day. The next thing is planning intelligence. So share any relevant intelligence that may impact planning to the next operational period. An example would be IR indicates heat on the ridge east of DP40. Crews were unable to access due to snags. Potential spots if there are any tree torching due to forecasted high winds. So the plan in the morning may have been that with that IR, you're going to go out and work those spots. Knowing that you weren't able to get in there and that that threat still exists is key information to pass on. So the next part is safety and risk assessment. So safety concerns, you would report any safety issues encountered during the operations. The example I have here is that noted increased heat stress cases among crews recently mobilized from the eastern area. And again, another key part is the mitigation. So you know that these crews fresh in from high humidity, low elevation areas are showing more signs of heat stress. What are you doing about it? And so that's the risk mitigation. So you discuss the measures taken or needed to mitigate the identified risks. And so in this example, it's adjusting their work assignment to allow for the line medics to monitor them more closely. The next part is significant changes or new priorities, emerging priorities. So these are like major tactical shifts. So you're highlighting those new priorities or significant changes to existing tasks. And the example here is priority will shift to point protection if the main fire crosses the Smith River drainage prior to completing the firing operations. So you have a key point there that if fire gets across, that means you're not prepared to receive fire at your line, so you're gonna have to back up to point protection. Important to communicate. And then time-sensitive information. Any urgent information that you haven't already communicated up through field ops, get that to planning ops right now. You probably still need to get that to field ops as soon as you get done with the call, but that way we maintain a common operating picture. The example here was a request helicopter support to prevent the fire from crossing Smith Creek prior to the completion of the burnout operation. So you see how those kind of tie together? In many of those sections that I just covered, it is the condition and then your response to that condition. The next section is logistical support issues. So you report any changes or disruptions affecting logistical support, including meal count, spike camp, line camp needs, changes in crews return to location, and meal location, et cetera. And remember, there's lead times associated with each one of these. So you're not going to decide at 1700 where to change everybody or that you want to spike. So review those that are in your ops guide. An example would be in 72 hours, we will need spike crews to eliminate the hour drive time and allow for more effective coordination between day and night shifts when we begin the burnout operation. You've given the need, you've given adequate lead time, and you've given the why. So that's a good logistical report out. 24, 48, 72-hour projections is the next section. In this section, you're futuring out where you think you're going to be at those time frames. So the example of the situation 24 hours was the completion of indirect line is expected by the end of the shift tomorrow. That's where you're going to be 24 hours from now. 48 hours from now, you think that you'll complete the check lines and point protection of the values within the indirect line. And then at the end of 72 hours, you expect to be able to begin firing operations, which will take 2 operational periods to complete. So by reporting out on those 3 different items, now you've given planning ops indications on what the needs are going to be, not just for the next operational period, but for the next 2 after that. And finally, the tactical alignment with strategic objectives. So the strategic alignment confirmation, divisions should confirm that the proposed tactics align with the incident's strategic objectives. And the way that sounds is Division Alpha confirms that fire line construction supports the strategic objective of protecting the critical infrastructure to the west of the line as identified in the incident objectives. So that is how you would give a report out, and we'll give you a couple examples of a good and a bad one next. Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm here to present to you the midday update scenarios, and this is the good example. For the context of this, I just want you to keep in mind that whether you're as a division group supervisor or branch, if you're giving these midday updates anywhere between 1300 and 1430, Based on the dynamics of the location of the country that you're responsible for, it could be very busy, very dynamic, as well as the planning operations that's going to receive this information is probably very busy as well. Lots of meetings, time-bound information. So as you give your midday report out, remember you want to be very clear, concise, and here's an example of that. Current situation. Well, stand by. I'm Division Alpha, and I'm protecting the community of Ryderville and Poppy River, and here are the sections I need to report out. Current situation, Division Alpha at drop point 25. The fire line along the northern ridge is 90% complete, with 1 mile remaining between drop point 25 and the Alpha Charlie division break. Crews are actively working on the final section. Both the completed and the planned line are accurately reflected in the field maps. We expect to have the line completed by the end of shift today. Now, regarding the issues and challenges, here's the operational issues that I would be presenting to planning ops or that party that's receiving this information. Crews are facing steep terrain near the Poppy River, which has slowed progress, but no safety incidents are reported. As far as our resource shortfalls, we're short 1 water tender, impacting mop-up efficiency. We are rotating equipment to cover shortfalls, but progress is going to be slower. Now, regarding our future needs, I'm requesting 1 additional water tender and 2 more hand crews to support mop-up and line construction near the river. The consequences of any shortfalls is if we do not receive the water tender, completion of mop-up around Ryderville could be delayed by 1 operational period, which might increase the risk of embers crossing the Poppy River. Now, regarding changes to the IAP when you're giving this update, here's a good example. Water tender 314, E101, last workday, 10-2. Engine 121 has a crew of 6. Crew 4 and crew 5 move to Bravo beginning tomorrow. Oh, here's the last name of engine boss on E122. His name is Rackenjammer, not Rockenhammer. Now, regarding the plant intelligence part of it, daytime IR indicates minimal heat remaining near drop point 10 along the Poppy River. No major concerns are noted, but the winds are forecasted to shift north tomorrow, which may increase spotting potential. If we can get another daytime IR flight near the end of the shift, it would be extremely valuable. Regarding the safety and risk assessment, line medics are reporting concerns regarding heat-related injuries on the crew that just arrived from the eastern area, but no major injuries or incidents. How we're going to mitigate that risk is the Eastern Area Type 2 crew has been moved to the lower portion of the line near drop point 25, and more frequent shade breaks and monitored by the line medics will occur. Now, regarding the significant changes or new priorities, our priority will shift to point protection along the Poppy River if the forecasted wind shift leads to spots across the river. We may need a helicopter support this afternoon to mitigate the risk of spot fires across the river. Field operations is aware of the need. Closing out here pretty quick, regarding our logistical needs, in 48 hours, we will need to establish a spike camp closer to the river to reduce travel times and improve efficiency as we complete mop-up operations. Now, regarding our 24, 48, 72 projections, 24 hours, we expect to complete mop-up around Ryderville by 1600 today and shift focus to securing the line along the Poppy River tomorrow. Our 48-hour projection, with additional resources, we aim to complete the final section of the fire line near the river by the end of the next shift. And our 72. Once the fire line is secured, we will begin backhaul operations and focus on securing control lines along the eastern flank. And then closing out, last report for the day, tactical alignment with those strategic objectives. The current fire line construction is aligned with the strategic objective of protecting Ryderville and preventing fire spread across the Poppy River. Our actions are focused on protecting Ryderville's homes, preventing embers from crossing the Poppy River. Completing the fire line and mop-up in these areas is critical to securing the values at risk. Until this is complete, we will ensure we are ready to shift to point protection if required. After today, we recommend shifting the 2 Type 2 crews to Division Bravo to ensure they can complete their line prior to our firing operation to increase the chances of a successful burnout and the protection of Ryderville. Next, you'll see a midday report on an ineffective example.
All right, as Caleb noted, I'm going to give you an example of an ineffective midday report out. Current situation, we're still in Division Alpha, working on the same parts of the line, and we're not sure exactly how much is done, but we're getting close. Some of the issues and challenges, the river's hard to get to, harder to get across. Some guys are tired, and the resource shortfalls, we need more water if we're going to get this done on time. Future needs, more water tenders and crews would be helpful. And if we don't get those, we might not finish today. And we might not finish today even if we get them. All right, the changes to the IAP. Water tender 511 told us that their last workday was wrong. Engine 511 has more crew members than it shows on the 204. And if we get done with the type 2 crews, they could go somewhere else. And the planning intelligence part, saw some heat on IR, but we think it'll be okay. Safety and risk assessment, risk concerns, it's hot out there, but we're getting by. And risk mitigation is we'll just take it easy and hope something major doesn't happen. All right, significant changes or new priorities, emerging priorities, nothing really new. And time-sensitive information, there's no big change for now. Another IR flight might be good. Logistical support issues. Lunches are okay, but we could use more water, and every day the travel time gets longer. The 24, 48, 72-hour projections. 24 will probably be finished with some work today. 48, hopefully we'll be down to the river by tomorrow. And 72, not sure what we'll be doing in 3 days. And the tactical alignment and strategic objectives. Regarding strategic alignment, I think what we're doing is fine. Crews are working hard. Rationale, we're just working the line like we're supposed to. And adjustments needed for better alignment. Not sure, haven't heard much about changes. You're the boss, so tell me what you want if it's anything else other than what I'm doing.
All right, hi everyone. So the last two examples you saw what was effective and what was ineffective, or good and bad examples. So in that good example, you saw where the division or division group supervisor provided specific measurable updates, gave highlights, highlighting resource shortfalls with consequences, and clearly linked actions to those strategic objectives. In that bad example, you saw where the division group supervisor didn't provide very good detail. His or her report out lacked detail, lacked specificity, and does not adequately address alignment with the incident's strategic goals, which make it difficult to support decision-making and planning. So I want to close out here and really link the importance of the team as they move through achieving the objectives to support decision-making and planning. So your information as that individual that's given that midday report out is really important. Think about the information, how that impacts the other sections, how effective it is, how ineffective it is, because that information that's either efficient or not is going to impact logistics, information, liaisons, agency administrators, planning, safety, you name it. So that's why that information is really important to get out, but also to be succinct and short about it, thorough, detailed. Thank you.